Hey Scorpio, this is Michael with your reading for March 2022, and I'm going to be honest, this month is actually packing quite a punch for you. We are starting off with a conjunction between your ruling planets, Mars and Pluto, in the sign of Capricorn on March 3rd. And this is very significant to you because, again, these are your ruling planets, and they are very much colliding together, and it's affecting the way that you express yourself, the way that you think, and the way that you move with the world immediately around you. Before we dive too far into your reading, I just want to thank all of you who have supported this channel with your likes, shares, comments, and subscribes. I have all of my links in the description box down below if you're looking for a reading or Reiki session with me. And I actually now have a Patreon page as well. For those of you who are interested in a little extra support, you do get some perks with the Patreon memberships. You get all of my astrology notes for these readings. I do a lot of research before I record any of these to give you the best information for the astrology for the month ahead. So you'll get kind of like a personalized horoscope. And then I also have exclusive live streams that I will be doing, as well as weekly updates. So if any of that sounds interesting to you and you want to support this channel, definitely check out those links down below. And again, I am grateful for any support that you show this channel with your likes, shares, comments, and subscribes. I am just so grateful to do this work. So thank you so much. Honestly, Scorpio, I'm feeling like March is kind of an interesting month for you, and I feel like you've just been working on this really weird, crazy thing behind the scenes. The first card I actually pulled for you was the Hierophant card, and, you know, this feels like I'm getting two messages from this. I feel like you've been doing something very, like, cliche Scorpio archetype thing. Like, I feel like you're doing something with the occult. I'm wondering if you've been doing some like obscure spiritual practice, or like really learning about some strange or esoteric schools of thought. There's something really interesting that you've been diving into. I'm getting that with the Hierophant. Some of you may have been working with a teacher or a mentor, or just learning on your own. And I feel like you're becoming a sort of master in something by yourself. And this energy is very interesting to me, especially with the card that came after this. I actually have the Lovers. And I get, again, a lot of different layers with these two cards alone. It's interesting to note that the Hierophant is the fifth major arcana, and the Lovers is the sixth. And there is so much duality that we experience in the major arcana, especially in the first few. We have the Magician and the High Priestess. We have the Empress and the Emperor. And then we have the Hierophant, which is kind of this light and dark. We have all this feminine, masculine. We have this duality in the major arcana. And then finally there is this coming together or joining together of something with the Lovers. It is the fusion of these two things. And I feel like with the Hierophant, there has been this kind of fusion of light or dark, or finding this balance within yourself, this spiritual balance or equilibrium. I feel like some of you are also really working with attachment styles, or working with your patterns in relationships. I'm specifically getting like a marriage vibe here from these two cards. I don't know if you've been thinking a lot about marriage or partnerships. This is actually showing up in the past, but I feel like you're ultimately doing this work to come into alignment with a relationship that feels good, which makes sense with the astrology for you this year. I wrote on my website, I have the 2022 year ahead horoscopes for all of the signs. And for you, Scorpio, we have the North Node in Taurus. There really is this reaching for partnerships, and it is changing the way that you relate to people. It's changing and affecting the way that you date and connect with people and enjoy yourself. And I really feel like whatever it is that you've been working on, it's almost like you're ready to share this with someone else. So if you are working on, healing your heart or healing your attachment styles, you may very well be ready to enter into relationships or connect with people, or you're starting to feel ready to do this. I'm wondering too if there's been some sort of like spiritual marriage. I'm not even sure what that word actually means, but it is like marrying the higher self with the lower self, bringing these two different aspects into alignment. This could very well be internal if this isn't talking about a relationship with somebody else. But I do feel like there is just something about two things becoming one. That feels very, very important to me. We also have the King of Swords here in the spread as well. And the King of Swords represents learning. It represents mastery. Again, I feel like you have been studying something or becoming a master in something, and I feel like you are really stepping into this energy into March, and maybe that is kind of tied with this conjunction between Mars and Pluto and Venus as well in Capricorn, which is your third house of communication, of the conscious mind, of siblings too, interestingly. I feel like there is something here where you are speaking your truth no matter what. And that's kind of what I'm getting here with the King of Swords, which is interesting because very often the King of Swords is very tactful and very, very selective with the things that he says. But I feel like you have forged some sort of truth. You've crafted this sword and you are ready to use it. You know now is the time to speak your truth. You can feel it. And also with Mars entering into the fourth house of or Aquarius, your fourth house, that's happening on the 6th. This is your ruling planet, one of your ruling planets. Again, there is this focus on home, on family, on traditions. Traditions is a major theme with Hierophant as well. There's something with traditions that you've been really focused on potentially. And I'm just getting like ancestry. I feel like some of you have been connecting with ancestors or working with ancestors in some way. It feels very spiritual. And very often I will sense family members or ancestors around people in my readings when there is something to do with marriage or home or family. Like that there's issues that are very active in that person's life or in those areas of that person's life. And so those might be coming through for you right now. These ancestors assisting you with certain issues regarding any of the things we've talked about, relationships, spirituality, traditions. I'm really feeling it's important for you to connect with ancestors. And as a Scorpio, I think you have a special connection to those who have crossed over in general. So that might be something you're really connecting to, especially when Mars is entering into Aquarius. And I believe that's for most of this month. I think it is for the rest of this month, actually. And there is just this focus on finding home. Maybe some of you are really trying to find a home for yourself with the Empress. This is actually the challenge for you. And it's kind of that hot, cold, open, close sort of energy, because on one hand, I feel like you're very ready. You need to be open with your heart. You need to bare your soul with someone or even with the world as the lovers. And with the Empress, you might be afraid to do that. And, you know, I actually clarified a lot of these cards. I apologize, but as I was pulling them, I just had to know, like, why is this here? What is this Empress doing? And of course, I got the Emperor. And that's very interesting because I was just talking about like the major arcana and the journey through them. We have all this duality. We have the Empress and the Emperor. We have the Magician and the High Priestess. And then they show up as a challenge. I'm wondering if there is something about like traditional roles or specifically gender roles that are coming up for you this month, which is kind of interesting, especially roles that you have assumed from your family. That could be something that you are really contending with, actually, this month. And that makes sense. With Mars in Aquarius, this energy is actually squaring your sense of self as a Scorpio. So there really could be this contention around yourself and even in your relationships. You really are challenging or sorting through these beliefs or these kind of expectations and the attachment systems you've earned or acquired from your family. And I feel like there really is something about our relationship here for you, Scorpio. And honestly, this is feeling very in line with the reading I did for you last month. Not gonna lie, I don't really remember much from that reading. But I remember there was something about partnership, and I think there was like old relationships coming back from the past, or like thinking about old relationships, and like it's almost like a test. Like there's been a test, there's been a spiritual test for you here. Um, and like I know this is kind of unpopular to say, but I feel like when you have Scorpio placements, like there really is this need to connect with someone on a very deep level. It's like it's not Scorpio and Libra energy both is kind of like you need another person actually to maximize this energy. And I think Scorpio has a harder time with that than Libra. And I know we're in this like era of self-love and like self-sufficiency and independence, and I don't need anyone else. I think honestly that's an ego trip. I think that's a pendulum swing again into an unhealthy direction. I think there is a need to find a balance. Maybe that's what this balance is all about that I've been talking about. It's not necessarily about dependence or independence, it's interdependence. How can I be more interdependent? That is something I'm seeing come up for you very, very strongly this month, Scorpio. And I get the sense there could even be this relationship, again, that is challenging to your family. That's something that could I could potentially see, or the belief systems you grew up with, the things you internalized from your upbringing that are coming up in relationships. You're really sorting through these. And then for the future, I had the Two of Wands in reverse. And again, I had to clarify this energy because it wasn't like... I was actually kind of struggling with this a little bit. And I had the Four of Cups in reverse and the Six of Wands in reverse. And honestly, this still is a little bit confusing to me. What I'm kind of getting here is there's still something that you're not seeing. There's still something that's not clear. Maybe you're feeling confused about the future as well, especially towards the end of March. It feels like... I almost feel like you know you're ready on some level for something new, especially regarding relationships, but this could just be like a new chapter for yourself as well. There could just be something that you've been waiting for, something that you've been planning for, something you've been manifesting and doing a lot of very deep spiritual work to create for yourself. And it still feels like there is this struggle here with this Two of Wands and then the Six of Wands and Four of Cups in reverse. It's like something that you're waiting on isn't coming. And it's almost like you need to expose yourself. You need to be the one who's vulnerable first. It's like you're waiting for someone to make you feel safe. But honestly, Scorpio, I feel like you need to let your walls down a little bit. And looking at this Two of Wands, it's like you're standing in a tower and looking out for something, maybe waiting for something to come to you. But your advice this month is the Lovers. It's about being vulnerable. It's about being exposed. Now, these two are clothed, but very often the Lovers depicts two people who are naked. And this is definitely a very close and intimate energy, regardless. And it is the coming together of two kind of polar energies. I feel like there is this thing, this struggle with masculinity and femininity as well. I'm wondering, actually, if some of you are even questioning your gender identity. I could actually really see that for you, with Mars and Venus and Pluto on the 3rd coming together in Capricorn, also kind of forming the sextile with your energy. I'm wondering if some of you actually are kind of questioning your gender identity or working with that quite literally. And if you aren't, if that doesn't really resonate for you, then maybe this is just like kind of dissecting gender roles or what you've internalized gender to mean. But I wouldn't actually be surprised if that is something you are dealing with. But yeah, Scorpio, it feels like if there's something you're waiting on, something you're waiting to happen for you, I feel like you actually need to be the one who's vulnerable enough to pursue it. It's not about waiting for something to come to you. And that's kind of what I get with the Six of Wands. It's the return from battle, coming victorious. Maybe you've been waiting for someone to come back or reach out to you. And the Four of Cups in reverse, it's like kind of a missed opportunity or seeing something that you haven't seen before. But I'm actually reading this more like you're still not seeing the offer or opportunity. You're still not grabbing something here that is available to you, this Ace of Cups. There is an Ace of Cups. There is something that is aligned. It's like you've done all the work inside of yourself, and now you need to actually do something different. And that could apply in any number of ways, but I know there is kind of this emphasis on relationships, so that's sort of the thing I honed in on in your reading. I know not everyone watches these readings for relationship stuff, but honestly, I just cover whatever seems thematic for the signs. And there really does seem to be this thing with like home and traditions and relationships and also identity. Like there's kind of just this trifecta of things that are potentially in conflict with one another or need resolution. Whoops, what did we get here? We have Hawk. There is change, new messages, a change of perspective. Whenever I pull the Hawk card, that tells me that we need to open our minds to something. We need to see things from a higher perspective. And this is actually the energy that is coming up for you as advice. Or energy for you to embody. And maybe the reason why it feels like it's hard to get a sense of what's coming next for you is because things are changing very quickly. Sometimes the Hawk can be a portent to things that are changing quite rapidly. The winds are changing quite rapidly. There could be new information that is coming in. I'm thinking specifically with Mercury in Pisces and Pluto in Capricorn on the 26th. They're forming a sextile. There really could be this thing where you have this new idea and it just changes everything for you. This inspiration. And you don't know what to do with it yet. But I think it's just important to open your mind and be willing to change. And we also have the Wolf card. And again, this always makes me think of family. It makes me think of the pack. This is actually one of the animals that symbolizes Scorpio energy, if I'm not mistaken. Scorpio has like so many different animals that it's connected to. It's snakes, it's scorpions, it's the wolf, it's the phoenix, it's the hawk, or the eagle, actually. So we have a few of your symbols here. There's kind of this shapeshifter quality this month as well. But whenever I see the wolf card, it is kind of this struggle of like, do I act like the lone wolf or do I work with the pack? Am I a pack animal or am I a lone wolf? That is kind of this question I'm getting for you this month. And I think there's been expectations or archetypes that have been role modeled for you that might not actually be working for you anymore. And you're really doing the work to separate yourself from those. And looking down at the clock right now, it's actually 4:44, which to me represents home. It represents the four walls. It represents foundations and traditions. And these are things that are changing. You are building new foundations. You are building something that not only is a home for you, but a home for the people that you love. And I think there is something where it's like you need to create something for other people as well. And I think there is going to be some perhaps communication or messages coming in from other people that you are either collaborating with or connecting with on an emotional level. I get the sense too, I feel like there's just been so much I've read for you today. I am getting the sense that some of you are dating someone kind of casually and you're having like a talk with them, right? You're kind of like playing your cards and being like, well, I want this out of a relationship. This is what I want with a partner. And you don't know how it's going to go. And I think you just need to play your cards, to be honest, Scorpio. I think that's important. And I'm also kind of specifically thinking of that aspect on the 26th. So the end of March going into April, maybe you're having like some conversations. I think this whole month is you really just saying what you have to say, and speaking your truth, and knowing that that's not going to be for everybody. And when it comes to relationships, it's not about winning people. When it comes to love, it's not about winning someone. It's about compatibility. And are you really going to be compatible with this person? And that applies to all sorts of relationships. That's not just romance. So keep all of that in mind. But I really see the sort of struggle of like, do I belong or do I just act independently? Do I connect with other people, or do I kind of go off and do my own thing? And I actually think you are supposed to connect with others. It's like you're waiting for someone to come to you, and you have to be the one to start the conversation. Those are all the messages I have for you now, Scorpio. I do hope that this was helpful. Sorry if this was a little wordy or circular. All of my links, again, are in the description box down below. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care.